So I gave you the report recently that Israel has voted overwhelmingly to shut down UNRWA. This is the Parliament of Israel, to shut down the United Nations organization, which is supposedly meant to be caring for the Palestinians, but has shown through clear evidence direct complicity in the October 7th attacks, complicity with Hamas. They are a terror organization given the air of legitimacy of a United Nations international NGO organization. Not that the UN should provide much legitimacy given these days, given their explicit disproportionate focus and condemnation of Israel. Did you know there's more UN General Assembly resolutions against Israel than all other countries combined? It's ridiculous. More than North Korea, Iran, China, Saudi Arabia. I mean, anyway, but Israel's now informed the UN that the 1967 agreement recognizing UNRWA is now void. They've now informed them of that. Okay, and this is what a Times of Israel report has said, is just developed, and this is from today. The Foreign Ministry, today on Monday, officially informed the United Nations that Israel is withdrawing from the 1967 agreement recognizing the Palestinian Refugee Agency, UNRWA, after the Knesset passed legislation to severely limit the operations of the agency in Israel and in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. Foreign Ministry Director General Jacob Blitzstein sent a letter to UN General Assembly President Philemon Yang of Cameroon, informing him that, quote, Israel will continue to work with international partners, including other UN agencies, to ensure the facilitation of humanitarian aid to civilians in Gaza in a way that doesn't undermine Israel's security. Israel expects the UN to contribute and to cooperate in this effort. Last week, the Knesset passed a bill banning UNRWA from operating from Israeli territory and prohibiting Israeli government agencies from working with UNRWA, and the bill takes effect in 3 months. Quote, UNRWA, the organisation whose employees participated in the October 7th massacre, and many of whose employees are Hamas operatives, is part of the problem in the Gaza Strip and not part of the solution. Foreign Minister Israel Katz said, quote, the UN was presented with endless evidence about Hamas operatives working at UNRWA and about the use of UNRWA facilities for terror purposes, and nothing was done about it. By the way, it seems that the Hamas terrorists not only were complicit with UNRWA or worked with UNRWA, but many of them were taught in UNRWA schools. Under the UN's authority, were taught to be martyrs, to kill as many Jews as possible, as a holy day they would consider October 7th to be. It's sick. Katz also noted that the only 13% of the aid to Gaza currently goes through UNRWA, and argued that the idea that there is no alternative to UNRWA is a fiction. Because this is one of the key points. Israel's being told, but we need to, who else is going to look after the Arabs? Well, it's only 13%. And frankly, whatever good it is they're doing, if they are funding and aiding and the source of terrorism towards Israel, Israel should not have any part of that. It's such an obvious expectation on Israel's side. Ambassador to the UN Danny Danon welcomed Monday's move, slamming the UN for not taking action after Israel submitted evidence of Hamas's infiltration of the refugee agency. Quote, the state of Israel will continue to cooperate with humanitarian organizations, but not with organizations that promote terrorism against us, he wrote on X. The legislation has alarmed the United Nations and some of Israel's Western allies, who fear it will further worsen the already dire humanitarian situation in Gaza, where Israel has been fighting Hamas terrorists since they carried out the October 7th, 2023 massacre. While Israel has worked to gradually limit UNRWA's role in the delivery of humanitarian aid in favour of the World Food Programme, UNICEF, and other agencies, UNRWA is still heavily involved in the Strip's humanitarian operation, running shelters, clinics, and warehouses. And despite pledges by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the Foreign Ministry to make sure the flow of aid remains uninterrupted, representatives of the International Organization for Migration and UNICEF have both stated they would be unable to fill the gap left behind when UNRWA has to cut back or halt operations in Gaza. Well, they're going to need to find another way, because it's unacceptable for UNRWA to continue and for Israel to have to tolerate that. It's that simple. Find another solution. The article continues, Israel has long had a combative relationship with UNRWA, which it argues has perpetuated the Palestinian refugee crisis by allowing the status to be passed down through the generations, which you don't get with any other refugee. And we mustn't forget, by the way, that the Arab refugees, Palestinians as they're known, They exist in these places, and they created this refugee situation of their grandparents' generation because Arab armies chose to go to war against Israel. If they'd have said, fine, we'll just, split the country, we'll have Arabs living here, Jews living there, Jews living in an Arab state, Arabs living in a Jewish state, and, that'll be that, there was going to be no displacement. That's how it was going to be. And before you say, yeah, but they had the right to the whole thing, did they? There was no Palestinian state prior in 1948. There was a Jewish state prior, and no one had been usurping each other's land. They're just living there, moving there throughout the generations, purchasing land, living there. Jews had a far longer connection to their land and had been in that land far longer and always maintained a long presence there, but they said, look, let's just split it. The Arabs said no, went to war against them, and they got displaced in a war of annihilation against the Jews, and that should be Israel's fault. Anyway, the article finishes by saying, frustration with UNRWA in Jerusalem has picked up over the past decade as Israel has found the Gaza-ruling Hamas terror group embedded within the agency infrastructure. That anger has peaked since Hamas's October 7th onslaught, in which a number of UNRWA staffers were found to have participated, including kidnapping and killing Israelis. Israel has alleged that 10% of the UN agency's staff has ties to Hamas, a charge the agency has denied, of course. Ahead of the passage of the legislation, UNRWA confirmed that Hamas Nukba commander killed in an Israeli strike, who led the killing and kidnapping of Israelis from a roadside bomb shelter near Kibbutz Re'im on October 7th last year, had been employed by the agency since July 2022. It's just disgusting. It's so obvious how evil UNRWA is. And against this backdrop, the article finishes, the two bills swiftly made their way through the Knesset with sponsorship from both coalition and opposition lawmakers. Israel is unanimous about this, both left and right. If you've made it so far in this video, I have a request for you. JTV has been having a really big impact in spreading the truth about Israel and creating positive associations with the Jewish people, Judaism, and Israel. We've really grown a lot, particularly in the last year, and we're having a really significant impact, both for Jews and non-Jews. But I really want to take JTV to the next level so we can start to compete with the other big online media beasts that are often peddling anti-Israel content. And the way we're going to do that is to scale even faster. So I'd love to build a team where we have other presenters doing shows like me. Let's start doing documentaries, supplementary content, animated content, etc., etc. And to do that, I'd like to build a bit of a team. So what we're going to do is we're going to do one fundraising day, just one, where we try and build up some funding in order to fund such a team. Now, to do that, it's going to obviously require people to get involved. And I'm wondering if you would consider, if you're watching JTV content and appreciate what we do and want to help partner with us in taking this to the next level and spreading the truth farther and wider than ever before, I wonder if you'd consider partnering with us simply by running a mini page on the fundraiser that we do, where you just reach out to your contacts on that day that we choose to fundraise and see if they'll all chip in. If you'd be up for doing that, of which I would be so grateful, then please click on the Google form link in the video description of this video, where you can simply just put in a few contact details. It'll be a very small commitment, as I say, literally just one day that we'll all agree upon as a collective community. But the impact is going to be so big. There's such strength in numbers. If we all pull together and do this, we can take this to the next level. And as I say, all of us can partner together in bringing and spreading the truth to the whole world. So please do consider clicking on that link, filling in the form, and I'll be in touch very soon to talk about the next steps. Small commitment, but a big impact. Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.